Brian. What's up, man?
Hey, what's happening?
Nothing much. I cleaned my PS5 for the first time today. Yeah, it was actually pretty easy. Props to them. You know why I didn't do it for so long?
Why did you do it for so long?
Is because they show the videos of people like popping off the side plates and like sliding it off.
Oh, you did it deep clean.
Oh well, I mean that's how you clean it, yeah. And they make it so that you can. Hi, tornado. They make it so you can pop it off and then slide it off pretty easy. But when you're doing it, it's kind of scary. Like you feel like you're gonna break the damn thing doing it. But then so make sure you go if you ever want to clean it, which I highly recommend you do. You go watch that PS5 breakdown video, and he shows you how to do it. Kind of look where he's grabbing and follow that. But yeah, it was a little bit dirty. Wasn't too bad, but it was enough to warrant a clean. So just make sure you do that. Have you ever cleaned yours?
I've never cleaned mine. I've never cleaned mine. Everybody in the chat saying we got echo again. It's gonna be one of those days, man.
Oh, what's my script, cats?
Oh god, right? There's like so many different things. It's just on AJ, I guess, huh? Is it just on AJ or is it on everybody? That's the big question. That's the big question. We need to know.
Uh-oh.
Right? That's what we need to know here.
I am your father.
Interesting. Keep it going. Hey, say all sorts of cool robotic things.
I need a script, cats. Autobots, transform and roll out. There we go. Mark Doust got me.
Hopefully,
Brian is worse than AJ, but it's both.
Oh, you're kidding me. Wow. Don't even know what to tell you, really. Don't even know what to tell you. Except, wait, guys, hang out for just a second here. Hang out for a second. AJ, can you still hear me?
I need more lines.
Yeah?
Can I what?
You can still hear me. I can still hear you, right? So everything's good.
Yes.
All right, well,
let's get ready to rumble.
One more thing. Say one more thing. All right, if that didn't work, then I don't know what to tell you guys. Can anybody? This is gonna be the longest introduction of all time. It's fixed. Mark Dow says it's fixed. Jeez, that's awesome. I don't know what I did. It was, guys. It wouldn't be without Parole if we didn't run into a ridiculous amount of problems. But now we got to get the show started. What do you think? Start the show? Let's go. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and thank God it's Friday. My name's Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole, and this guy over here can't do it without him, AJ from The Underground, PSVR Underground. Ooh, it's so exciting. No, the reverb's off, man. The echo's off. What? Wait, nothing changed. Nothing changed. Oh, you've got to be kidding me right now. Literally nothing changed. All right, well, you guys hang out and talk amongst yourselves. This is going to be an interesting episode. We'll figure this out. Okay, well, let's see. AJ, keep talking. Here we go. Are you still... AJ, tell me a story, man. Yeah, that doesn't help us, guys. Really. Yeah, this. So sorry guys. Like basically, AJ's got to keep talking so that I can hear him. Um, let's see here. Hold on. Keep going. Yeah. Let's play a game. I wish he could hear you. Yep. He's thinking, God, I do this so much better on my own. If you can't hear what AJ's saying, because you can't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, whatever. I mean, no. This is a brand new what? This is a brand new problem. Yeah. The problems we had last time aren't even the same problems we're having this time. This is insane. Hmm. Yeah, let me try this over here. Yeah, I mean, I do think every AJ in the world is awesome.
Through charades. Okay. Okay, Nick, you ready? Wait, no. Yeah. Nick, you know what this means? You've done this before. Check, test. Two, Nick. Two, what? Oh, wait, hold on. Yes, yay. He's back. All right, 2 syllables. The answer was Farpoint. That's what I was thinking. Y'all should have known that.
Did
All right,
somebody say
Timothy,
you're back? You're not back.
Yes, they're all saying They're all saying they can hear me or I'm back or something. It's fixed. Let him sing. And I was singing "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd. Great song.
I don't see a sound level here that even remotely suggests that you're back.
I had to override your systems with my telekinesis, Brian. Now you're echoing.
Great.
Uh-oh.
AJ's back. It's working. AJ's back. Echo's back for Brian. It's fun, right? This is really fun.
Well,
Brian's echoing. Brian's echoing. All right, let's see here. Check. Check. Is Brian still echoing? Check. And can you hear AJ? Check. And can you hear AJ? Good. I have no. It's magic. No more echo, and you can hear AJ. No echo, but no AJ. It's magic, man. It's magic. Okay, let me do this then. Let me do this.
Magic.
Keep talking.
It's magic.
Let me try this. This is going to be our best bet here. If I do this.
Let me check.
Check.
Let me check.
AJ's gone again. What?
AJ is back. Brian echoes, no echo, but no AJ.
Wow.
He is back. I'm so confused. No AJ. Now Brian has echo gone, but AJ no echo.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's fine.
It's fine now.
Well, that doesn't. So everything's fine now. You can hear
All
me,
is good?
and you can hear AJ, and there's no echo.
Can you hear me out there?
Fixed. Is there echo on me? It's all fixed. Everybody's
all fixed.
Both
are good now.
I'm going to be honest.
Woo!
Nothing about what I did should have made anything work. in fact, OBS is saying that there's no sound going to you guys. So this is what I'm working with over here. This is PSVR GamesCast. Oh my god, AJ. First of all, thank you everybody who hung out and dealt with all of that. That is absolutely insane. I'm so glad I've got coffee handy. That was insane. I'll never understand how the system works apparently. So you guys are very patient, and I love you so much for being patient and hanging out. So you guys,
what are you talking about? They were having a blast with this. You kidding me?
Oh, I know.
They love this shit. Yeah. Thank you guys. No,
et.2k9.now with $5 says you're good. Thank you very much. You're also good. et.2k9.now. Okay, so back on. I don't even know how to get a show started at this point. Guys, we want to thank a bunch of people. Obviously, everybody who supports us on Patreon. Everybody who tips during the show, of course. But there's a whole different group of cats that help us in a different way, not so much financially. Isn't that right, AJ?
That is right. We would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name to something GameCat related, or something GameCat adjacent, as you or something GameCat adjacent would like to say. And this week, we have 4 new GameCats to welcome to the Gamecat Dojo. Starting with Jeremy, look, it's a Gamecat butthole. I'm so glad I got my mic fixed so that I could say that.
I mean, that's some classic Without Parole stuff right there. We started with all sorts of classic Without Parole technical problems, and if you're not familiar with how with Jeremy, because he hasn't been on the channel in a while, he had a weird fascination with cat buttholes. Did he now?
We've also
you can't look at a cat walking away without staring at their butt because their tail's straight up in the air and they're showing
actually
it off,
when Tornado was walking, it was funny because when Tornado was walking across the screen, that's all I saw was Tornado's butt. So cats, gotta love them. We've also got Robert the Game Cat, formerly known as Reth the Game Cat that sleeps all day, formerly known as Reth 1142 or something like that. That's my homie right there. That's my dude.
Hell yeah. Also, very classic Game Cat naming. Back in the day, people just used to be Matt the Game Cat, right? John the Game Cat. And then people started going crazy with this shit. So I like it, man. It's very classic.
We've also got Mad Max, the Metaverse Game Cat VR, who I saw came back into our community.
Always good to see Mad Max around. This one's a little. I don't know how you feel about the term metaverse at this point, but I'm way less cool about the word metaverse now that Facebook has basically decided to own the name.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care. Finally, last but certainly not least, we've got Serial Killer, the Game Cat. Must ask you a question. Yes.
Obviously, Serial Killer is the one taking the lead on the No Shave Movember movement for Without Parole. It's obviously a to bring awareness to men's health issues, prostate cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so make sure I'm sure we've got a mod in the chat here that can bring up the link if you care to donate as one of the Gamecats. Again, Serial Killer is leading the charge. If you want to ask him some questions or mustache him some questions, I guess you can track him down over on Discord, and I'm sure he can answer all the questions that you have about that charity event. All right, guys, if you want to get your name, if you want to get a shout out for your Gamecat name change, make sure you put hashtag Gamecat somewhere in the comments below, and we will absolutely give you a shout out on next Friday's show. Remember, Gamecats are the loyalists of the loyal Without Parole community. AJ, with that out of the way, we have a ton of stuff to talk about. Starting with, I think this is going to be my favorite conversation of the day. Sniper Jones over on our Discord, I think that's Steve Mirza, asked hashtag viewer takeover. What is PSVR's long-term legacy? Where will it rank in the pantheon of gaming consoles 10 to 20 years from now?
Well, it's not necessarily a console, but I think that when it comes to the next generation of gaming, the biggest evolution of it is going to be the PSVR 2 or NGVR or PS5 VR, whatever you want to call it. And I'd hope that most people look back at PSVR 1, and I believe they will, and say, hey, this was Sony taking a chance, Sony experimenting and getting into this new technology, and was one of the first ways that 5 million of the 100 million first got their entry into VR. I think PSVR was people's first VR for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And PSVR 2 is going to be probably even more. And I'd hope that the legacy is that it it definitely had some growing pains, some lots of things that they were able to learn from it. It was experimental. It had a lot of stuff that got dated really quickly. However, it was the beginning. And I think that's what will make it forever special.
Yeah, there were so many experiments, so many developers trying to make bigger games, and I think having to scale back possibly their initial visions. There's been so many hurdles to overcome with the hardware. Obviously, starting with the Move controllers was an interesting decision by Sony. I think we can, in retrospect, see why they did it, but also see, as hardcore PlayStation VR fans, that maybe it was somewhat detrimental to their success. I don't know what the PSVR's itself long-term legacy is going to be. I don't know. I think it's just hard to see. If PSVR 2 is as big and crazy and as cool and different and closer to console gaming than PSVR 1 is, by leaps and bounds, then I think it's going to be pretty easy to look back quickly and say, whew, that was a rough start for VR. But being kind of still in the midst of it and sort of still enjoying these experimental games, and I'm going to say that I think PSVR's long-term legacy is that we're going to look back at this time and the people who played PSVR and stuck with it and used the Move controllers and all of us together basically, so fucking hardcore about VR that we figured out, along with developers, ways to get around these virtual worlds without even analog sticks on our controllers, without really having the ability to turn fully around with Move controllers. All these different, it really, these are some of the hardest core gamers out there, and not only, we're not just playing little puzzle games. We're playing some crazy over the top action games, and things that require a bunch of fast movement and fast thinking and reloading fast. And these, we did it. We did it. We overcame the obstacles along with Sony. So I think we're gonna look back at this and go, man, a lot of people talk about the DK1. I'm so hardcore about VR, the DK1. I think people who are really hardcore about VR had PlayStation VR and were willing to overcome those real hurdles to play some games. That's how I think it's gonna be looked at.
Yeah. I think we're also going to look back and be like, thank God we don't have to do that or suffer through that stuff anymore, too, once we get it better. That's the thing, is with a lot of VR, it got away with a lot of what it did because people were just getting used to the introduction to VR.
Right.
And so for the beginning generation, we are able to look past a lot of the issues, but we are going to look back in many ways and be like, oh my God, like how did we even get through that in some cases? But there have been some shining examples as well. So stuff like Resident Evil 7, Saints and Sinners, Astrobot, lots of games, and yeah, I get my VR and I get my hardcore gaming fix through PSVR. So it'll forever be near and dear to my heart for sure.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of shining examples. Everything that's ever been on a top 25 list is really just, shows that it's more than just an experiment. It was actually a success to those of us that gave it a chance. All right, man, let's get into some news. What do we got to talk about today?
Well, there's actually a donation from Jeremy. Look, it's a Gamecat butthole with the $10. It says PSVR will also always be near and to my heart. Right up there with PS2 for me. Nice.
Big time.
Nice, like the cross-reference here. News-wise, Brian, there is a PlayStation Talent Showcase taking place November 17th, and the significance of that is that Do Not Open, Noctis, the developers behind the game that was supposed to be something we celebrated on Halloween and got delayed, said they were going to give us more info in the middle of November, and it looks like they are delivering November 17th.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the, obviously is the PlayStation Talent Showcase. This is where really small, I think it's all Spanish dev teams, right? Indie Spanish dev teams that want to do
PlayStation España.
Exactly. So PlayStation's reached out. They found small dev teams in Spain, and basically were like, "Hey, here's some money. Make us a game." Or saw projects they were interested in and said, "We believe in what you're doing. Make us a game." That's where Neon Hat came from, and so that doesn't bode well. But that is where also Intruders came from. Intruders was pretty decent, So for good and bad, obviously. So we've really got our fingers crossed for this, and in everything I've heard about this delay is good. It seems like they're really, really, really trying to add a lot to their game and make sure that they don't rush it out just to say, we wanted it to come out for Halloween, and so we pushed it out for Halloween. I think this delay is going to be really, really good for them. So fingers crossed, because I think Neon Hat certainly could have used about 6 more months of development. We know this has been pushed into 2022, but we don't know how far it's been pushed into 2022. So we'll see.
Cool. So in other news, there's been a bunch of, Brian, I recently did this, a new top 10 dreams list. And then, I did a top 30 way long ago, like back in February, I think it was. And I said, I'm not finding a whole bunch of stuff. Let me give it like a little bit of time. And then, I think I gave it a little too much time because there are a ton of dreams that have come out. Actually, maybe not, because some of them did come out recently. But they are awesome. And we wanted to shed some light on them, give a little mini review of a couple dreams that you guys need to go check out.
Oh yeah, man! And thank you so much for spending the time and going through dreams and really looking for all these different things, because sometimes it's not the easiest. It's not like there's exactly a category. Dreams is sort of laid out like Netflix, but I really wish they would have a category that says newest PlayStation VR games that you need to play, right? Just like a category just set aside for it. And so I'm sure it took you a long time to kind of delve through everything and find a nice
hours and hours and hours. However, Brian, it was totally worth it. Nice. Because there are some stunning games. I want to see, where's Gamecat's out of the glue bagger, because the first game we'll talk about, there's just 3 we want to highlight real quick and go through, is Streets of Dread. And what this is, for anybody who's a Call of Duty Zombies fan, it's kind of like, and for you, Brian, it's like Nightmare Mode and Resident Evil 7 DLC. It's essentially a survival-based game where you're limited in this area, and as you kill zombies, you gain currency, and then you use that currency to purchase better weapons, to unlock new areas, and that's kind of the game loop. Is like, how long can you survive? You try to build a high score, but it's just fun and addicting. And this one is a new project that people are working on that is really, really fun and really cool. And I can't wait to hear Gamecat out of the glue bagger, because he saw me playing it and he was like flipping his shit, and he went and bought Dreams. And, you know, maybe that's why we haven't heard from him, because he said he put like 100 hours into Call of Duty Zombies and was like, dude, like he was just blown away by what he was seeing me play.
Yeah, Atmos VR 77 in the chat says Dreams is stepping it up. Go back if it's been months since you have. It's crazy, yeah, because we were trying to cover a bunch of all the new VR games that were coming out over there that creators had been making, and it seemed like it was great at the beginning, and then there was another little push, and then it sort of slowed down to a trickle, and then nothing. And it had been a minute since I checked in, and now it just seems like there's a ton of great stuff, a lot of really cool things that you can go in depth with. One of the things I thought was really interesting that you showed off was Disdain.
Yes. You remember all the good old Castlevania references I used to make and tell you about my obsession with Castlevania? And I think a lot of us are huge Castlevania fans and have an obsession with it. Yes, I was really excited about this one for many reasons, but since you got to play this one all the way through, why don't you kick this one off?
Yeah, this was cool. I really like the whole concept here from beginning to end. When you first start this thing up, it's a Disdain demo, and so you only get to play through the first section, but they've got all this other stuff planned. It seems like they've got chapter 2 and chapter 3 planned out, and even at the beginning, it just shows like this whole world where it sort of zooms in, and like you got this castle that you're rushing to. It's everything about this. You can tell that the person who made this is also a huge Castlevania fan. I mean, because obviously they're kind of ripping it off, but more so because the controls feel right. The movement, the backgrounds, like, I mean, everything about this sort of just reeks of Castlevania. And it's interesting because it feels a little bit like Symphony of the Night, but I think it plays a little bit more in terms of level progression. It seems like it's going to play a little bit more like an OG or
Classic
like Super
Vania,
Castlevania
baby.
4. Yeah.
Classic Vania. Those are actually my favorites. I do love Symphony of the Night. I do love the Metroidvanias in general. I mean, it created a genre, for Christ's sake. Helped create a genre. But I have always loved the Classic Vania. And yeah, this takes a lot of like the move set. You even have like the backdash that Alucard would do. But I think I think what this proved to me, though, this was not only like great for Castlevania fans. This showed me that, oh my God, there is a place for 2.5D games in VR. They're not going to dominate the VR space, but there is a place for them when they look as stunning and are as fun to play as stuff like this. And and everyone knows what's up. Rondo of Blood.
Nice.
This showed me that something like a Rondo of Blood or a Super Castlevania 4 or even a Metroidvania would work if it has the quality and the polish to it. And man, I cannot encourage people enough to go check this out. This is just chapter 1, and there's going to be 2 more chapters, and it'll be very interesting to see. But it's got like boss fights, it's got sub bosses, it's got deep move sets to it, combos that harken back to like some Devil May Cry stuff, and it is super cool, man.
Yeah, the move sets are, and we could have a whole conversation just about that because it's so it just there's so, I mean, you look at the control list and it's a little overwhelming. You're like, whoa, there's like so many things that my character can do, and so I'm this. I think what you're seeing here is maybe like my first run through before I even like really got the controls down, and really was able to experiment with all the different moves you can do, but it felt good. But what I loved the most, honestly, was that so frequently you see these areas that you're seeing now where it's just like, okay, the background is a castle wall, there's some stairs, there's some enemies, whatever, and it looks nice. But then just like, I'll go back to Symphony of the Night again, you'll open a door and you'll walk down a hallway or whatever, and then it just like it all opens up, and like so you see this big church in the background, or you'll see you can just see way out into the distance and see how much like love and care was given to like some of the more distant backgrounds. And this game does the exact same thing. It almost gets you comfortable with the claustrophobic environments, and then as soon as you move into something bigger, it kind of, it's mind-blowing, because you're like, whoa, I was getting used to this is what the game is going to be, and then it's like, by the way, look at this cool vista we have for you in the background.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Gorgeous.
I like what they did here.
Yeah, the way the backgrounds, I think Insane Artist worked on the backgrounds, and he is an insane artist. I wish I could remember the primary people that made this though. But yeah, it was a collaboration of dreamers that made this, and some people focused on the background, some people focused on the gameplay, I'm sure. And man, it is just stunning, super fun, and pays tribute to one of the greatest franchises of all time, and it's just excellent. It's brand new. This came out in the middle of October. It's only a month old, so yeah, you got to go check it out. And it looks stunning in VR.
There's an interesting conversation happening in the chat about what 2.5D is, or if there has already been 2.5D games on the platform. There may have been on PSVR. I mean, I've played too many games at this point. I can't think of.
The only one I can think of is like Bloody Zombies, maybe. But this, honestly,
No.
I like Bloody Zombies, but this like blows it out of the water, because visually this has that like sense of awe. Like when you look at it, when you look at Bloody Zombies, you're like, okay, that looks cool, but it's not like a blow you away kind of thing. This is one of the best. I mean, granted, I've maybe missed a few, but this is like one of the best Castlevania games I've ever played in like a while, and it's in VR.
Yeah. I don't even think Bloody Zombies is true 2.5D. I think you look at games like basically you can only run left and right. Klonoa, Tomba, Pandemonium. Right. Those games or Spider. Those games were classic examples of 2.5D, where the backgrounds are all 3D, but when you push left, you can only run left, even if it's running you down like a twisted 3D trail. It's left and right, and so you're playing a 2D platformer, but with 3D backgrounds and environments like running you all over the place. Pretty sure that's the classic definition.
Yeah, it's basically like a side-scrolling platformer that does have 3D elements to it, like you said. But the difference is when you put on a VR headset, you really get a sense of that 3D depth that you can't with a flat screen, and that's what makes this stand out.
Yeah, and we have one more to talk about here, which I've only started, but you've had a lot more time. You actually completed it.
I completed it today. It's called Pressure. Shout out to Twitch of the Gamecat, who was recommending this one to me a bunch.
Yes. And
yeah, it's basically a Soma kind of Soma BioShock System Shock inspired game where you're in an underwater facility. You're basically going looking for treasure with your friends, and you basically run into some stuff, so you're trying to escape this underwater facility, and there's a bunch of like basically evil robots and androids and stuff wandering around, and it's just this is easily, arguably, in contention for one of the best Dreams PSVR games I've played so far. I think Jungle Bill is top tier. I think Hypercycle Arena is top tier. And this one, even Left to Rot, is one of my top games. But this one is like, wow, this is like playing a PS3 game in VR, kind of, and it is absolutely, and I mean that in like all the best ways. And it is really something special, something incredible, and yeah, I just finished today. It was amazing. It's like 2 hours long, and there's more coming too.
Nice. Yeah, I only played for maybe the first half hour, I guess, and man, yeah, if the creator of this would go in and kind of tweak a few things for VR, I mean, like, yeah. I hope he or she does, because it is very, very deserving of a little bit more love for the VR gamers. Because as great as this, I'm sure, is on the flat screen, they absolutely killed it with the VR implementation already. Like, it looks beautiful. The lighting is amazing. The enemies are scary. And yeah, I mean, I was just running around doing my best to like pick up the items and get through the doors and move through the this whole environment here without getting my ass handed to me. And I died quite a few times, even just during the first half hour, like kind of like learning what to do. You're underwater a lot. There's an air meter. There's items to pick up in the environment. Doors you have to figure out how to unlock, and the stealth mechanics here are like good, like really good. It felt like I was hiding behind things all the time, and you were saying this felt better than some like full-fledged PSVR games, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just played Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife, and this actually had like better stealth, better AI, better gameplay than that. Now, there is a drawback to this one, though. There's one tiny little drawback, which can be for some kind of frustrating, and that is because it's not built from the ground up for VR. It uses the DualShock, not the Move controllers, and then for some items, what happens here with some dreams, this happens in Left to Rot as well, is that for some items you have like a flashlight and you can like point the flashlight up and down, and because of this you have to like point down sometimes if an object doesn't want to interact properly. You have to aim like the thing, your like flashlight at it, and that's how you kind of know like where your arms are to reach out and grab it. And so that's the only thing, but let me tell you, that is one small little thing that you can overcome to have to play an amazing looking game, an amazing playing game. It is super awesome. And did you ever play Soma?
Yeah, I actually played Soma beginning to end. I love Soma.
Yeah, so I was getting lots of references to Soma. Soma was a game I was extremely excited about. I bought it, I think, like day one, or I bought it on Halloween a couple, 7 years ago. And I never got around to playing it, and it always bothered me. And I heard a bunch of people saying, like, this is like Soma inspired. And I was like, oh, finally I get to experience that, like, escaping an underwater thing. But this game is a lot deeper than you would think. First of all, like I said, on PS5 it's absolutely beautiful. I know somebody was asking about PS4 Pro. You can probably play it on PS4 Pro just fine. But the atmosphere of it and the stealth gameplay, and then there's like, I love it when games have like little games within the game, like you're hacking something and you have this like Game Boy looking thing and you have to like line up the lines and press it, or you have to like move the joysticks on when you're like hacking this panel. You move these little dots into these circles or something, and it's like simple stuff, but it's like, this is cool. This is not just like I don't know, you just go up and press a button. It's like, it feels a little bit more interactive. It feels like there's a little bit more than just running around and it's like goofy. It gives it like a level of polish that's really nice.
Yeah. For anybody who hasn't played Soma, it's a good game, but man, I must have played it on the OG PS4. I hope it's pro patched because it didn't run all that well. Like, I feel like it had some frame rate issues and just, I don't know. So Soma's a good game, but I don't know how much I really recommend it. Hopefully there's like going to be a PS5 version or something. Who knows, man? But anyway, the point is that, yeah, this is ridiculous. This is above and beyond the kind of things that I expected to ever see in Dreams. Sort of always expected to see 20, 30-minute experiences that people, put a lot of love into and took a lot of time working on. This is obviously something that somebody spent a lot of time on, and the fact that it's 2 hours long and it has all this variety and that it looks and plays as well as it does. It's great. I will double down and say yes, it is. Even knowing the left to right type issue where you're using the right analog stick to try to pick up items and stuff. Even with that knowledge, I struggled big time trying to pick up items in this. But besides that, I mean, again, it's a game made in Dreams, and we're loving it.
I will say it never got me like killed or anything. There was a couple times where like I struggled to interact with an object, for sure. That happened a few times, but it never got me killed. So I don't think it was ever like a deal breaker, and it is totally worth playing through that one small issue. I've been playing some other games where these are games I paid for, and I overcame those issues. This is a free game, and it's better than most of the shit I pay for. So I'll take it. I'll take it for now.
Absolutely. And guys, if you're looking for more Dreams games to play, AJ did an entire stream of tons of new Dreams games that are compatible with PSVR over on PSVR Underground. So make sure you subscribe to him and check out his videos on this. He also made an actual list of games, an actual video with just like a list of games if you don't want to sit through like a 3-hour stream, right?
Right. The games I streamed yesterday are not the same as the games in the list. Those are brand new games, but I did make a new top 10 list for games that weren't in my previous list. So yeah, check it all out. There's timestamps and everything on the stream. Go check out some of my gameplay of Pressure, man. Go see what this is like. If you're interested, you can go play the Castlevania one yourself. Because you need to, and make sure you just support these dreamers, man. These guys are spending months and months, in some cases a year of their life to make these, and they're really good. And I think that, like, I really believe that they're better than a lot of what the entire VR, not just PSVR, the entire VR library. Yeah. These games really are better than a lot of that stuff, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. It's nice to see that people haven't given up on dreams, that people are still 100% like, gung-ho about making new content for it. Guys, it's $20 here in the state. Frequently goes on sale for $10. Like, if you don't own dreams, you're out of your mind. Like, just to stop in once a month and see what people have made. It's cool, man. It's cool.
Yep.
We don't have an early access program or any other way to like see kind of like user created content on PSVR. Like, this is like one of the only real ways to do that. So go support the community.
Mark Dowse knows what's up, man. He's playing all the games I recommended. He played Toboggan Run, which is like a bobsledding game, which is new. And it's very simple. It is so much fun, and it's so smooth. You would not have to. You do not have to worry about motion sickness unless you're very sensitive to that thing. Yeah. But a lot of the times, I never get motion sick. But a lot of times I can feel it. I'm like, oh, this is rough, which is why I didn't recommend a couple roller coaster rides that I found in Dreams. But Toboggan Run is an absolute must as well. It is so simple and so much fun. You got to check it out for sure.
Yeah, anybody in the Dreams community, anybody who's better, who stays in touch with those guys more than we do, send the word along. It's like we're obviously not going to cover games that don't have VR support, but let anybody know who's made a cool dream to flick the switch, give us the option to play it in VR, and then contact us, man. Like, give us the indreams.me link. And we'll check it out, and maybe one of us will make a video of it, stream it live on the channel, and again, give it the love that it deserves. We're always happy to check these out. Dreams is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best reasons to own a PlayStation 5 if you have PSVR.
Yep.
Which sort of brings us into our main topic of the day.
That is correct, Brian. As we mentioned at the start of the show, I don't know if you heard it or not, but it is the 1-year anniversary of PlayStation 5. Now, I'm going to let you kick things off, Brian, but I just want to say, this is new territory for me because I'm not usually a day one console buyer. I usually wait like a year or two. But given the circumstance, given that we are content creators, that we have a whole community that relies on us to play stuff and give them the feedback, we have a year's worth of feedback for you, all in one little simple podcast. Ain't that right, Brian?
I mean, I guess, yeah. Listen, before we really get into the conversation, I do want to point out that Belugi, the underground game cat, hit us up with a $30 tip. Says, I love how despite the technical difficulties, we're all still here, loving the show to pieces. Thanks for all you do. Cheers, Brian. That is so on you. Like, that is 100% the community being an awesome community. I was sitting here waiting for the subscriber count or the view count, people watching live, to drop to 0 while we're trying to figure that shit out, and it never happened. Like, you guys just kept sticking around and hanging out and entertaining yourselves. So thank you so very much for that. You guys are amazing, and thank you, Pluchu, for the awesome donation. And of course, we also have Salvador with the $5 tips is just stopping by to say sup, everyone. Can't wait for Rangi tomorrow.
What up, Salvador? He's going to be requesting Rangi. I don't know how you say it.
Is that a PSVR game?
You know what's funny was I thought, it's.
I know I reviewed it. I'm picturing this puzzle game.
It's like a puzzle game that's like colorful and old school as hell.
Native American inspired kind of visuals, like that kind of.
Yes, I think
thing.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, very very like tribal ish.
We got Nick Mueller. I remember reviewing that back in the day. Wow, it's been so long. It's like all these games that just disappeared from my memory. Nick Mueller, the Gamecat, with the $5 tip, says 10 days left, AJ.
Oh man, I got to finish No Man's Sky Expedition. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this time, I swear. I'm already more than halfway through it. So 10 days left for the Expedition No Man's Skies, everybody. Get your worm.
Get your worm. Super cool video, bro, with the $5 tip says, how would you feel if development studios release smaller titles through Dreams for purchase? Also thinking about Mighty Morphin Power Cat as a username. I love the username first and foremost.
Yes.
My friends and I used to watch Mighty Morphin's Power Rangers, like, ironically, like we didn't love it. We just thought it was goofy, like to be like, we love Power Rangers. We were way too old for that shit. But yeah, I've got a little soft spot in my heart for that. But yeah, no, I think people should be able to charge money for games made in Dreams. But I don't know if we're there. I don't know if we're at a point where like it's easy to be able to discern like what you should be able to pay for and what you shouldn't pay for.
Right. You don't know. It's tough, and I think that's something that they should have had ready at launch.
Yeah.
To do. But that's just not what the platform is. I do think it would be great for Dreams to have some sort of way to monetize something to support creators, because I think it'd give a lot more incentive to create stuff. Like if the game is good enough or gets enough awards, can be purchased outside of Dreams or something. I don't know. But nothing. The way they've built it is kind of like free and open, and they give you the option to share it or don't share it, and that's about as much as you can do. But yeah, it definitely would have been better if there was some incentive to like that.
Yeah, I think that, so many people are opposed to just buying Dreams, which is fine, whatever, like people are like, oh, I don't want to create things, and I don't want to play things that feel like early access, or like, I want to play real games, like whatever, man, it's fine. We all have our own preferences, things that we like to play and things to do, but I do think that it would be great and also show the value of Dreams if there was a vetting process where Media Molecule could look at games and then say, sure, this is good enough for to be placed on sale in the PlayStation Store as a made in Dreams creation, but you can play outside of Dreams, $5, bam, like give something like what was the game we just talked about?
Pressure,
like $5 to play a 2-hour game, like that's a better deal than a lot of the crap that we've gotten on PlayStation VR, right? And so and then of course it makes Dreams look like an even better deal. You'd be like, oh, I could buy 4 of these games, or I could just buy Dreams and play them all for free, right? So I think it would be, one would help the other. People would play a couple games and then end up buying Dreams after they're like, oh, I'm not spending any more money on this, I could just play these for free. But anyway, so let's get back into it, man. Let's get back into it. PlayStation 5 is 1 year old today, and we've had the console since launch. I'm also not a huge proponent of buying consoles at launch. I've done it a few times. I think I got the Vita and PSP on day one, PS4 and PS5 on day one, and that's pretty much the extent of my day one console purchases, and I've been a gamer for fucking 40 years. So that leaves 30 consoles that I did not buy on day one. And so this is sort of new for me too, and so kind of getting in there on day one and saying, hey, this isn't perfect, and being patient and waiting for Sony to kind of like bring updates and for games to come. It all sort of it's kind of new to me, but kind of not new to me. I think everybody should wait a year before buying a console, honestly.
Typically, I did that for PS4. As much as I wanted it, I mean, I was lucky enough. You just gotta have like a friend that has one in the meantime. Yeah. You can always rely on that trusty friend. I was lucky enough. I had a roommate that got a PS4 day one, nice. So I was able to kind of like use that and get away with it. But then after the first year, I think a Grand Theft Auto 5 like bundle dropped or something. That's what I would usually wait for. Is wait for the revision model that was still the same looking and everything as the first model, but it was like a little bit power consumption was reduced, and like came with a bundle, was for like the same price and
some better guts.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, man. Like back 1 year ago, how do you think Sony handled this launch? I mean, obviously we were in the middle of the pandemic, and so things were. This was a very atypical console launch. Sony and Microsoft had to deal with releasing a new console, trying to launch a console during a pandemic. How do you think Sony did?
Well, it's a little bit different than I'm accustomed to be honest with you. I'm used to Sony having all the goods and also having these huge events like E3s and stuff. Yeah. So much has changed within last gen and this gen, and so it's been a lot different. There was this gen has been the start of this gen. It almost seems like there's a lot more silence in between like certain announcements and stuff. Like I only see or Herman Holst or hear from Jim Ryan when there's a article interview they do, or when there's a tweet for something that they say and say congratulations to so or we are, they have like a basic message, but other than that, like I haven't really like they don't go up on stage anymore and talk about things, or it's a little bit different, and so I've had to get used to that.
Do you think that there's a reason for that? I know that you're not big on the new regime and how they do things quite yet. You think I know that you think they'd still have to prove themselves, but do you think that maybe things are going really well on the PlayStation 5 sales front? Right, they're just selling consoles left and right, and basically every PlayStation 5 that gets made gets sold, right? So there's not really many sitting on shelves, and if you do happen to see one on a shelf, consider yourself pretty fucking lucky, right? So, anytime that they say anything, if they mention PSVR 2 or if they show off a new game, the comments are always the same. What's the point? I can't buy a PlayStation 5 anyway, right? It's always this huge amount of negativity surrounding it, being people that can't buy one. So I almost feel like it's in Sony's best interest to just fucking sit down and shut up, as my old bus driver used to say. Like, just let the console sell, and then when supply catches up to demand, then you can start talking a little bit more, and people won't be so fucking upset about every word you say.
Well, and I think that's one thing that they have kind of got right, is that they released this console with some exclusives. They talked about what made the console special, things like the SSD, and they came out with some games, with some hardware. They've innovated some, which is great, because that's why I've always loved Sony was that the innovation was there. This year being the DualSense and the haptic triggers, adaptive triggers and haptic feedback. The games obviously got a big bump. I still believe wholeheartedly that PSVR 2, PS5 VR is going to be the thing that makes me go, whoa, this is definitely like next generation futuristic feeling. This feels such a drastic leap from last gen. I think when you take a PS4 Pro and you go to a PS5, the base console, excluding VR, I don't think that there's a huge difference. There is a difference, but I don't know if it's a $500 worth difference.
We've gotten to a point where it used to be when you got a PlayStation 1, it was a dramatic huge difference from the thing you just had before. You had a Super Nintendo, and now you get this thing that's like killing it with 3D graphics, right? And PlayStation 2 like made those 3D graphics look amazing, right? And then pretty much from PlayStation 3 on, it was like just minor differences. Sure, if you're like really, really big on resolution or frame rate, like great, but like really, 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 it's hard to tell those differences, and even though the power is exponentially more with every single upgrade, it's getting harder and harder to see those differences for the casual gamer, people who aren't looking for the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS or 1080p and 4K, right? So I am 100% there that if you have a Pro and you jump to a PlayStation 5, those differences are even less easy to notice now, because you had a mid-cycle upgrade. You had a PlayStation 4.5, and so the leap to PlayStation 5 wasn't all that big. And so I really hope that a lot of people who jumped in at PlayStation 5 launch were jumping in from the OG for that major upgrade, because then they saw something a little bit more than you and I and a lot of this community saw.
Right. A lot of some of the quality of life things that the PS5 launched with were a little bit of an issue too. I see people saying folders in the chat. That was one thing I didn't like. I'm guessing this is what makes it so difficult, is that, and this is why I say like the new leadership still has a lot to prove to me personally. But as Stingray X pointed out, I don't for one second disregard that they did this during really trying times, during a pandemic, and we saw a lot of entertainment industry collapse and really disappear completely. And I think they had their hands full with what they're still dealing with, which it sucks to see that they're still dealing with supply chain issues that are pandemic related,
and will continue to for like the next year.
Well, I don't. Is that supposed to be for the next year?
Oh yeah, people are saying that this is going straight through 2022, big time.
Well, that is definitely problematic and unfortunate. But I don't know. I'm getting mixed messages around when it comes to that, because obviously, it's like, in one way it's the highest, fastest selling console of all time at launch, or anyways at least, and then in another way there's still these huge issues. So it's like it's been a bit of a rocky road. And for me, I bought a PlayStation 5 to get ready for PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah.
And as a VR player, there has been some highlights, but I feel like they're specifically for me, that those highlights have I've benefited. Stuff like Dreams, stuff like No Man's Sky. Yeah. It didn't feel like it doesn't feel like it was a very smooth transition, though, in that, like, every game just got boosted, every game, got better graphics enhanced. In fact, it was very much like, no, you have to make a PS5 game if you're gonna want to, make a PS5 patch, like a true PS5 patch, rather than just harnessing some of the hardware. You have to have the full new gear and full new SKU and everything. And I was hoping for a little bit smoother transition of some kind of way to kind of keep us entertained, keep us getting stuff in the meantime that was more than just more PS4 content that's backwards compatible.
Yeah, it does seem like that's been the case. And before we get to the games themselves, it is a little strange that we took a major step backwards, I think, with the UI. I've been using this thing for a year, and there's still things that I don't like about the UI, things that I'm like, even, why is this so needlessly complicated, or why is this so needlessly difficult? Simple little things. I mean, things as simple as folders. Hey, that was a great addition to the PlayStation 4, that we got fairly early on, right? I don't remember when that happened, but when we got it was like, oh, this is great. Why didn't we have this from the beginning?
Folders came late, but they came way late.
But we all loved it so much. It was like a little bit crazy that, this was a great addition to the UI. Why wouldn't that be there with the PlayStation 5 launch? And there's so many little things, man, that just don't make sense with the PlayStation 5. I'm constantly, anytime I'm trying to bring up the menu at the bottom of the screen, I still tap the PlayStation button and then go, nope, that's not it. And then I hold the PlayStation button. It's like just little things, man, that like just didn't seem to come together the way that they should have. But that's UI, and we'll get over the UI and whatever. It's fine. They'll keep changing it throughout the course of the entire generation. But I think you and I, in most of the community, we care about games. Like that's like 100%. We'll deal with like the little things in the launch hurdles, feeling like we're kind of like in a beta program for the UI. We'll deal with all that. And I know that you and I come at this with a little bit of a different perspective than the normal PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 gamer, because we are so obsessed with VR that it takes a lot for us to get out there and play something that isn't VR.
Right.
But still, so this took a little bit of research on my part, or on our part, and looking through and seeing what games had come out for PlayStation 5 over the last year, and kind of comparing that to PlayStation 1 through 4 to kind of get a good sense of, hey, how was this launch compared to PlayStation 1 through 4, right? Because you look at the launch lineup games, they're some good, some bad, whatever, but then you look at the first full year to get a really good feeling of how everything went down. And I'll tell you, man, looking at PlayStation 5 games, the number of them that are PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games that are simply just not PlayStation 5 exclusive, a reason to buy the console, right? And I don't care if they're on the Series X. What I mean is, like, you have to upgrade to play this game. there's so few and far between, and even a lot of them honestly are smaller indie games that just were like, hey, yeah, this is only on PlayStation 5. If you look at the first year of PlayStation 5, like again, you're going to hear a lot of games that you could play on PlayStation 4. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Astro's Playroom, Borderlands 3, Bugsnax, Demon's Souls, really nice. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, The Pathless, Watch Dogs Legion, The Dark Pictures Anthology, Deathloop, which is awesome, or by all accounts is awesome. I didn't play it. Returnal, which is awesome. I played that. Kennen Bridge of Spirits, which
Returnal is so fantastic. Returnal is one of the few non-VR games that I was like, oh, this is what I'm after here.
Definitely. Kennen Bridge of Spirits and Medium, Aliens Fireteam Elite, Resident Evil Village, Oddworld, Soulstorm. Again, a lot of these are great games, but a lot of them are also available on PlayStation 4. So it was like, what are we upgrading from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 for? Slightly better frame rate, slightly better graphics. I mean, not a whole lot. And so when you compare it to something like, one of my favorite consoles of all time is the PlayStation 2. And dude, I was so shocked that some of my favorite PlayStation 2 games were they came out in the first year. Like it had a radically different first year than anything else. Tekken Tag Tournament, Armored Core 2, Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore, Dynasty Warriors 2, Midnight Club, Smuggler's Run, Orphan, Scion of Sorcery, that was a guilty pleasure, Ridge Racer 5, Silent Scope, SSX, Street Fighter X3, Summoner, Time Splitters, Unreal Tournament, X Squad, MotoGP, Eco, first year, Jade Cocoon 2, Devil May Cry 1, first year. That was shocking to me.
Oh, that's a first year game? Wow.
Yeah, like I think right on the cusp. Extermination, The Bouncer, Zone of the Enders. Wow, what a fucking amazing first year that the PlayStation 2 had. That, these games weren't available on PlayStation 1, right? And a lot of these were PlayStation 2 exclusive, and you just couldn't get them anywhere else. And as I went back and looked at PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, as you progress through the years, obviously exclusives become less prominent. But man, it does seem like with every console, the first year becomes less and less exciting. I know a lot of people are like, this is the way it's always been. I don't know why you're so surprised that the first year isn't very exciting. No, it's not the way it's always been. In fact, the first year for PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 were fucking incredible. PlayStation 3, I should probably backtrack a little bit on that.
Yeah,
there were some really great moments,
games.
But whoa, later in a PlayStation 3 is when it really started to shine. But PlayStation 1 and 2 for sure had unbelievable first years, and then PlayStation 3, 4, and 5 were sort of like, it's like there's no real reason you need to have this thing on year one, and that's sort of where I'm still at with PlayStation 5. I love it. I'm so glad that I have it, right? And especially knowing how difficult it is to get one, I'm like really glad to have it. But again, we're coming from a very, very different angle here, and we are absolutely looking for PlayStation VR 2, and Sony's silence on that front, while understandable, while they're trying to focus on PlayStation 5, they don't want to hear from people who are saying, "What's the point of PlayStation VR 2? We can't even get a PlayStation 5," which is a valid complaint. Like I'm using a stupid voice and trying, but I'm not making fun of anybody who says that, because really, what is the point of PlayStation VR 2 if you can't even get the console that powers it? It's been such a tough year and such a tough launch that I think Sony is kind of just doing the best that they can, and just being as patient as they can. I think a lot of other developers or a lot of other hardware manufacturers would have rushed out some of these announcements and focused on PlayStation VR 2 all year long, and I have a hard time. Disagreeing with the way that Sony's handling things, because you just have to kind of be quiet, let the system sell itself while it's fucking on top, let it sell, and and just kind of wait for things in the world to get back to normal a little bit.
I definitely think that releasing what they've done in this time has definitely thrown. I do feel like they are dealing with things that they have never had to deal with before, that dare I say that they weren't even prepared to deal with. And I think that's fair to say, because who kind of would be prepared to deal with this? A lot of the most of the world wasn't prepared. But I don't know. I do feel like they have become a little bit more reactive than proactive, and again, the messaging, the communication behind everything, I feel like at the core, yes, in the big picture, they're doing the right thing. They've done a lot of the right things. What I feel like they need to greatly improve is almost all of the little things. Stuff like, I don't know where they're at with PlayStation VR 2 or PS5 VR. I don't know how long they've been working on it, but it does seem like that they are a little behind. It feels like it. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not the case. I could be completely wrong, but it has felt like they are a little behind on opportunities. And I definitely feel like a lot of the little things. It's the little things all over the place. Little things like the UI of the PS5, like the store of the PS5 is sometimes having issues that they the little things like getting a consistent showcase or event that can consistently deliver on expectations, which it just feels like it's all over the place. It feels like state of plays are sometimes great. State of plays just always feel like they feel like they're all over the place. And I don't know. I worry that they are just some of the new people. It's not entirely their fault, but I do worry that they're in over their heads sometimes. But they have constantly. Constantly.
They definitely deliver the feeling that they just either don't know what they're doing or they're way over their heads, which is crazy for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, right?
Right.
How is that a thing?
Yeah, you shouldn't. I've worked in not as big a corporation as this, obviously, but I've worked in some big corporations, and we've always had teams that immediately start working on things and tackling things and investing in things, and when we've had to make adjustments around certain things. And I don't know, man. It's what's funny is that the same thing kind of happened with the corporation I worked for, where it came down to getting some new leadership and that new leadership being very business oriented. And I feel like I do want to give this new leadership a chance, but as a day one PS5 owner, it definitely feels like it's kind of like, why do it's like almost like the early adopters are the ones that kind of have to wait the longest, be the most patient. While it's always been this kind of feeling like the longer you wait, the better it's going to be, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I guess that's just the way it has to be sometimes. But I don't know, man. You know what would make me happy is if next month they come out and do a full showcase and say, here's next generation of VR. Jim Ryan did a PS blog. Like, this is the 1 year anniversary, and this is what I'm talking about. This is what bothers me when it comes to little things. Yeah. Jim Ryan did a PlayStation blog thing for the 1 year anniversary, and then Herman Hulst does a tweet. And they're very just like, they're very plain. Like, they don't, like, I don't know. They're very basic, like, formal kind of stuff. But it's just weird because I just feel like I'm not used to this yet. I'm used to Sony announcing stuff on a big stage. I'm used to marketing on a big stage. To whenever they would have something to say, they would show up there in front of the cameras and say these things. They wouldn't. It just, to me, it's kind of strange leadership leading an entire 110 plus million player base by tweets and PS blog posts. It just doesn't make sense. It's just really weird to me. And I don't think it bodes well for the future if they continue to do it that way. But hopefully in the future, those things have changed.
Yeah, I mean, if they see things that aren't working, they're obviously going to change. But it's very possible that the way they're doing things now is working just fine. Because again, I don't think they want to be loud and boisterous and shouting anything from the rooftop right now. It's like, let the console sell, and we will get to everything else they have to offer as soon as as soon as they can, as soon as it makes sense financially and from a community standpoint. Right now, I just don't. They say anything right now. Like there's a part of me, right? So we've been talking about this December event, and the rumors have been strong. I've heard it from all sorts of different sources, all sorts of different places that this rumor could be accurate. There's a part of me that says Sony could very easily back off their PSVR 2 reveal next month,
right?
Just because they're saying, hey, we had to cut back on our projections for PlayStation 5 sales because the pandemic is killing us. The chip shortages are killing us. We can't manufacture enough to even meet the goals. It's selling faster than anybody expected it to, and they still can't meet their projected goals because they can't manufacture these fast enough. And so that is their focus. That is 100% their focus, making sure that they get as many of these things out to as many people as possible, and they don't want to disrupt that message by talking to the 10%, maybe 15% of people who are going to buy a PlayStation 5 with the intention of playing PSVR 2 on it. Now, our community, just FYI, getting back to the poll that we put up here, I put up a poll that says, did you buy a PlayStation 5 with most of your intention to play PSVR 2 games? 67% of our community said yes, and we're the hardcore PSVR community, right? And so think about how that 67% isn't that great of a majority when you're talking to a VR audience. Think about the PS5 owners as a whole. Think about that community, and I could absolutely see that number being very, very, very low.
The problem I have is that when there is, it's the missed opportunities that are killing me. And when there's stuff like we don't have the official numbers on Quest, but we're expecting around 5 million when you add the Quest 1 and Quest 2. I think the Quest 2 is supposed to be responsible for 3-4 million of that at least. And the problem to me is that when you sell, yes, I understand they have to have PS5s first, but when you're at 13 or 10, how many PS5s are they sold right now? Do you know?
I don't.
It's between 10 and 12, 13 million, I believe. Mm-hmm. And when you sold that much and the Quest is projected to have sold almost half of that, then that to me kind of feels like you've missed an opportunity by delaying so long. I don't think there's a problem. I didn't have a problem with them delaying the launch of PSVR 2 or whatever. But to me, when it just seems like they got things started when they did, is when I was like, ugh, that's when, especially when you see somebody else on the market capitalizing, able to get these items out, able to sell them, able to, give something for developers to have to make some revenue and keep building the VR ecosystem. That's what kind of where I feel like the opportunity was missed. If that is true, that there's a 5 million thing, that's a third of what the PS5s are selling right now. And so to me, it's yes, you had this idea, the strategy of we don't want it to be too expensive at launch, bundled with the headset. Mm-hmm. But when there's another headset on the market that's eating up a lot of that, your potential space there, then I feel like you have missed an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, if you're comparing apples to apples though, and you're saying only maybe 5%, 10% of PlayStation owners are buying a VR headset to go along with their console, then they're not talking about missing out on 5, 6, 7 million in sales. They're talking about missing out on 1 million, right? And so there's a part of me, again, I'm the guy. Probably both of us, you and I, more than anybody else on the face of the planet, we want PlayStation VR 2 now. Fuck everything that makes sense. We want it now, right? But honestly, the number of people who buy PlayStation VR 2 for their PlayStation 5 right now is probably about 1 million people, right? Based on the numbers that maybe 2 million. Who knows? It's not a huge number. So I just wouldn't want to see them getting in their own way to satisfy 2 million people. When they're trying to satisfy 100 million people.
Yeah, it's not to satisfy 2 million people though. There are millions of people out there waiting for PSVR 2 that have been saying this since day one. There is, if you think, I mean, for every PSVR 1, for every Quest user, there is like triple that waiting for PSVR 2 right now.
And they're going to continue to wait. Like, and I think, you know, and again, I hate like siding with Sony and being like, this is the right thing to do. But like, it just, because I want PlayStation VR 2 now. I do. We're fucking ready for it, right? And even if Quest 3 comes out between now and then, which it probably will, you know, people will buy that. And then when PSVR 2, I know that Sony knows this. When PSVR 2 comes out, none of that's going to matter, right? When you know what you know about PlayStation VR 2 and you know what you know about the competition, there is no competition. When PSVR 2 comes out, they're just gonna crush it, whether that be tomorrow or whether that be a year from now. They're just gonna crush it. And so I can see why they're waiting. It sucks though, because as a gamer, I want that shit last year. I want that shit on PS5 launch day, right? I don't want to wait. We're in a very interesting place when it comes to PSVR 1 right now. We can tell by the sales figures. We can tell by the games that are being sold, which games are being sold. When Song and Smoke doesn't place on a top 10 list the month it comes out, being one of the greatest PlayStation VR games we've played, when it doesn't place on the sales charts, we know what's going on. Not a lot of people
even when the top sales charts doesn't mean a lot anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing is like I said, that's when I feel like they were in over their head in this situation. They weren't prepared for this. The benefits of this though is that the longer that it takes, which I still hope is not too long. I'm praying for a as soon as possible release. Mm-hmm. But the longer it takes, it gives more time to get polished. It gives more time to get games developed for it. And so there's going to be benefits to that as well. There's going to be benefits to us have waited so long. Yeah. There's going to be huge benefits to that. But I still don't think it's a wise decision to wait too long, unless everybody else on the market that has a VR headset just comes out and completely whiffs, which some of these are. I see this new HTC thing that like doesn't have controllers. It's not meant for games. There's a lot of VR headsets going this social route or trying to get into AR stuff, and I don't think that's what's going to push VR as a medium. I think games are what's going to do that, and that's the part that drives me crazy is that Sony are the perfect company to do this, to be the ones to get this amazing tech and software as well for gaming, because I think gaming is the answer to getting VR into more people's interests. If you take away the gaming, VR is going to still remain niche forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, again, one of the many things that Sony's thinking is that they have found a solution to make VR games easier to make, flat games easier to bring into VR, and that is going to revolutionize the VR world because no one else has found a way to do that yet. Not without like some hacks like Vorpex or something, which is just like, we want to give these tools to creators, not modders or hackers. We want an actual real experience that developers can deliver the game that they wanted to bring us. And I think that's right. Where we're at with Sony. And I do think that is worth waiting for. I hope. Because God, if they fucking biff this, I'm out, man. I'm out. I'm gonna go make pizzas for a living or something because I just can't handle it anymore, man. Jeremy, look into Gamecat Butthole with the $5 tip says, "Let it be known I have a pizza bet with Aceville. The bet is that PSVR 2 will be announced in December." Yeah, as much as I'm getting nervous about that December event, I'm still 100% there with you. I really hope they don't change their plans. We will see. We'll see how this all goes down, man. It's gonna be very, very interesting.
It's shocking to me that the messaging today that they did. I mean, it's shocking to me, to be honest with you, because the holidays coming up, and don't you want like a big push for the holidays? And this actually can introduce a viewer takeover question that we had, because I think it does bring up a good question, but today, like, I mean, it just seems like just regular marketing 101. Blue Chew, the Underground Game Cat, Elite Name Squad in the house, says in the viewer takeover section in our Discord, hashtag viewer takeover, do you think it's possible there might be a mass stealth release of PS5s for Christmas time? Since it's a prerequisite for PSVR 2, that could be possible, I think. It would make sense that they might have the shortage situation fixed, but just keeping quiet for now since just the mention of PS5 still pisses so many people off. So
I think
that's the thing.
I think getting PS5s on store shelves now instead of selling, they totally screwed up when it came to scalpers. Obviously, they let scalpers get their hands on way too many PlayStation 5s, and so they screwed up the online sales. Getting those into stores and making and so that the stores can regulate, how many you can buy, like physically in person. That is already going to start changing how this console is being sold and how much of a grip scalpers have on the current price tag. That was a major good step by Sony, finally getting these things over to like physical retailers. I understand they didn't want to do it during the pandemic. They didn't want to have like 1,000 people all standing in front of a store together, as passing COVID around, trying to get a PlayStation 5. Smart move, yes, but you kind of biffed the smart move, right? You allowed scalpers to get their hands on it. So they're already making good changes in terms of that and allowing these things to be sold for Christmas. I 100% agree. That's great. But I don't think they can make a bigger push for the holidays. I don't think that's even possible. If they're selling every one that they make, then then they can't make a bigger push. The push has already been made and it's successful.
Right. I still thought it was that's the bizarre situation that we are in, that I keep seeing that that they're not even in a position to market. I mean, to have like a big Christmas push. It'll be interesting to see if they do that or not. I mean, to me, the signs are looking like there isn't, or if they again are just doing what you said and they're just kind of sitting back and shutting up and just letting it sell.
Right?
I mean, because that's all they can do,
and it's working. Yeah. Right? Why?
Well, that's all they can do.
Don't announce a new game if you don't have to. Don't announce a new exclusive. Don't announce a headset if you don't have to. Like, you don't need to do anything right now. Sony found themselves in a really interesting situation. I don't know if you remember this in the PlayStation 4 era, where they kind of showed all their cards too early. They had the E3 of Dreams like 3 years in a row, and so when it finally came to E3, the fourth year, it was like, oh shit, we got nothing to show these people, and all they could do was show footage of games that they've already revealed. And so I think Sony kind of learned a hard lesson then, saying, don't show all your cards at once, man. Wait until you need to. Wait until people are like, what am I buying this thing for? And then fucking reveal something big. Right now, they don't need to reveal anything.
I don't mind teasing even just like a game, like the name, like they showed this Wolverine game, right? Mm-hmm. And it was nothing but a quick CGI cutscene, and then it said Wolverine. And like, I've never minded that strategy. I mean, hell, when you sell a record-breaking amount of consoles from that generation, your company profits the most it has in a long time, in like 20 years or something, breaking more records, then I think that it's okay to do those things sometimes. I understand there are people that really get annoyed with early announcements and stuff, and I know the disasters that it can lead to. But I don't know. But I still think it's okay to kind of I don't know. What they're doing right now in that regard, I think is fine. But again, I would still like to hear more about PSVR 2, basically, and I hope we do soon. Like, even if PSVR 2 is coming out holiday 2022, which we haven't got anything official yet, we don't know. It would still be nice to know a little bit more about it by now and get to know what's like. But again, I just don't feel like. I think the reason we haven't heard it is because they're just not. They don't have it prepared. They don't have it ready yet. They just got the dev kits out 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 7 months ago.
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, try it. But I don't know. It just I want to see them get back to being ahead of the game a little bit, ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why they're waiting. They want to make sure that they don't screw this up. They want to make sure that they are ready to go, that they've got games ready to go at launch, that they're really, really, really able to sell this thing to us. It wasn't like PlayStation VR 1 was a failure by any stretch of the imagination. It was an interesting experiment. It sold pretty damn well for being an early VR headset, and I just don't think that's where they want to be with PlayStation VR 2. I think they want to blow the doors off this thing. They want VR. We can go. I really want to have a discussion with you someday about whether VR games will replace flat screen gaming or how much it should replace flat screen gaming in the future. I think that's just
That'll be an interesting one.
so many people get up in arms about that, and I've got tons of things I want to say about that. So we should have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
I'm
fine with that.
But I do think, again, I keep going back to this hybrid games deal where I think Sony just wants to give you the option to play all of these. So not replace. If you want to sit back on your couch and play some video games, great, you've got that. But also have the option to play all of these in VR as well. And so that's just something that we haven't really seen before. And when you do something that big and that interesting and that game changing to the industry, you don't want to rush it. You want to make sure everyone understands exactly what they're doing. Real quick, Shades of Grey Matter with a Canadian $5 says Backlog Club game this week is Until You Fall. It's free with PlayStation Plus, so come on and join us in the Discord. Backlog Club. People getting caught up on old games. It's a great idea. Until You Fall is a good one. I want to get back in there and defeat the harder levels. I've only did the normal level, whatever the one you start on is. All right, man. Well, listen. Let's end this. I know we obviously went off and talked a lot about PlayStation VR 2 for this discussion because it's PSVR Gamescast Live, man. Like, we're as much as PlayStation 5 is fun for flat screen gaming, whatever else. We've got a very unique angle on this discussion that probably most channels are not having. So thank you guys for hanging out for that. Let's finish this conversation off, AJ, with an assessment of: do you think people should buy a PlayStation 5 right now?
It's a tricky question. I think it depends on what your situation is. I think you get the biggest advantage of getting a PS5 right now. Especially if you had an OG PS4, B, plan to play a lot of games, and C, want to be prepared for the future. You can also tack on other things like, do you still play flat games? Do you love Dreams and No Man's Sky? There are several people that qualify for, yes, you need a PS5 like yesterday. I am one of those people in a way. That being said, I did have a PS4 Pro, and so like the leap wasn't huge for me. And I think for a lot of those people, the thing is, so like that's what I would say about that. If you fall into those categories of those benefits really apply to you, then yes, there's plenty of reason, especially because the future. I don't think there's any huge rush. Just like how I would, as a consumer before being a content creator, I would always wait a year or two for a console. I think that's the general consensus right now for me, is that that's okay to wait. You're losing anything. You're not going to gain anything by waiting a little bit longer. And I think that's the biggest recommendation I could give. It costs almost less to get a PS4 than it does a PS5 than it does a PS4 Pro at this point. Or it costs the same.
One in stores, yes.
Yeah. So it really depends. Obviously, I think the best you could do is if you always have everything. You have every console, every headset, whatever you can, but that's not applicable to everybody. So, me personally, I freaking love my PS5, despite the things that make me super frustrated, despite the painstaking long wait that it is taking to get more PSVR news and announcements. There's a lot of frustrations that have come along with it, but there have been tons of cool bright spots for me as well, and I personally love it, and it's happy. It makes me happy knowing that when the headset comes out, I just got to worry about the headset, and that's nice. The problem, the biggest frustration for me is a lot of the little things, and the waiting. I think is the hardest thing for me personally.
Yeah, the waiting is the hardest part. That's what they say. Yeah, I'm basically with you. I like my PlayStation 5 less than you do. I feel like it's fine, but it really is functioning essentially as a PlayStation 4 Pro with a few added bells and whistles in terms of Hey, Dreams looks a whole lot better, and so does No Man's Sky. But man, when you talk about like 5 games looking better on PSVR, then that doesn't have a lot of incentive for me. Games like Returnal have been fun. Demon Souls looks beautiful.
Returnal is my favorite non-VR game. That benefit that I've gotten from PS5, that's for sure.
Yeah, it really comes down to, is money no object? If money's no object, obviously you've got it, or you're already buying it, or whatever the case is, that your plan is to pick one up. But man, if you're really waiting for PlayStation VR 2, there's only so much I can empathize with Sony's struggle at this point, right? I call it a struggle, even though they're absolutely killing it on the sales front. But they are struggling from a communication standpoint, I think, like you said before, and I do think that they need to find a solution to that. They need to make sure that there's something amazing to talk about in every state of play, or they do need to find a way to get stage presentations back, because that's what they were always so good at. So for me, maybe my enthusiasm is less about the console and more about, just like this holding pattern that we're kind of stuck in at the moment. It's fine. If you've got a Pro, I say maybe you can hold off, wait for a PlayStation VR 2 release date. Maybe by then they'll be easier to find.
You'd have to imagine by the time PSVR 2 comes out that PS5s will be at least a little easier to get and obtain. They'll at least be back in stores, because I think that's the number one cause of the delay of the PSVR 2. At the time, it could have been that they didn't want it to be too expensive together or whatever, which I still think was, if you took away the pandemic, then I think you would absolutely should have sold like the bundle together. You throw in the pandemic and it makes a little bit more sense of like, it's not necessarily so much about it being too expensive together, so much as there being a stock shortage now of PS5s, which is required for the PSVR 2 to function. So in that regard, that is the only like valid excuse that I give. But I still think they could trickle out just a little bit more before everything comes out and leaks and just gets leaked all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like you squandered the opportunity, a marketing opportunity, to now, websites and media now have the same info and have basically eaten your lunch.
Genetic Blasphemy with the $5 tip says, we love you, Brian Paul. We love you, AJ. Smiles and hugs to you both. And I think there's a dinosaur and a heart.
There is a dinosaur.
Man, you gotta love the dinosaur, man. You gotta love it. All right, you guys. So that brings us to the final segment of the show today. We're running long because we're broken for the first 20 minutes. So it's time for 20 questions, PSVR 20 questions, which, yes, I stole from GameScoop. I'm so sorry, Damon Hatfield. Not that you're paying attention or listening, but man, it's such a fun game that we had to bring it over here for PlayStation VR. I'm the host. That means I've got a PSVR game in my head, and AJ's got 20 questions in only 6 minutes to figure out what game it is. You guys in the chat,
easy mode or hard mode? Easy mode or hard mode?
The part of me thinks this is a super easy mode, but maybe
okay.
I'll tell you why after the game is over. Guys, make sure you help them out in the chat. Ask some good questions, all right? Pay attention. Starting now.
Does it have aim support?
No.
Does it have move support?
Yes.
Does it have... shit. Is it a sci-fi game?
No.
Is it a horror game?
No.
Is it a puzzle game?
No.
Is it a strategy game?
No.
Is it a sports game?
No. This game's gonna be over so fast.
Holy shit. Does this game exist? Does it have multiplayer?
No.
Does it have full locomotion?
Yes.
Good fucking God. I've got what? Full locomotion? That's it?
Yeah, pretty much it.
9 questions?
Supports the moves and full locomotion, I think, is all you've got a yes
supports
on.
the moves and full locomotion. It's not sport. Is there combat in this game?
I would say no, but there is a way to say yes to this question, but when you think of this game, you're not thinking about combat. That's for sure.
All right, I'm gonna lean on the chat here for 2 questions. Has it ever been on a top 25 list?
No, and that's a strong no.
Okay, so it's probably a shitty game. Sounds like a shitty game here. Is it a fighting game?
No.
Good God. What kind of this is supposed to be super easy mode? Did
No.
it come out in the first year of PSVR?
No.
It's not racing. It's not sports.
I didn't say super easy mode. I said it's kind of easy mode, but I'll tell you why when the game's over.
Okay. Is it a rhythm game?
No. It's 14.
Has developed wait, hold on. So it's a shitty game. Sounds like a shitty game.
Oh.
Can't be a musical game. What are we on?
14. This will be 15.
It'll be 15. Well, how much time?
3 minutes.
Is it an experience?
No. It's still a game.
Is it a dating sim?
No.
God damn, this is tough, man. This is hard as hell. What are you talking about? They come out within the last year.
Yes.
Came out within the last year. That's 17. We're on 18.
This will be 18.
Good God, you guys.
Did Jack Blasphemy just said, where are those sirens coming from? What are you new? I know, just...
I've done Separation before. Came out within like the last year.
Okay.
I need how much? What's my time?
You got 2 minutes left. 2 questions and a
2
guess.
minutes. Okay, let's slow it down a little. Okay, guys, channel your knowledge, cats, from the last year. Ooh. Okay. Okay. I feel like he wouldn't have hesitated if it was Winds and Leaves Flame Hat. That's a great guess. But I feel like he wouldn't have hesitated from a year. That would have been like an easy yes. It's got to be a bad game. He said it's not racing.
You got a minute and a half.
You said it's not racing, right? Because that's classified as sports.
It's not a sports game, and that includes racing.
Okay. So it's not racing, guys. Can't be Little Witch Academia. Good guess, though. It's not a horror game. It's not sci-fi. I have what? 2 guesses and then the
2
game?
questions and a guess, and 1 minute left.
Oh, yeah. Little Witch has... He said it was a shame that it wasn't in the top 25? Is that what you said?
Did not say that.
Okay. Okay.
Sirens on my end.
Okay.
Holy shit. Now they're really coming to get me
Okay.
confused, the Game Cat. Brian Paul.
Can't be Mask Maker.
That's it.
Mask Maker's a
Go
puzzle game.
37
I was thinking
seconds.
space before. Is it in space?
It is not in space.
37 seconds. Gadgeteer's a puzzle game. Puzzle Bobble's a puzzle game. Neku Atsume. Does it have cats in it?
I mean, it probably does, yeah.
How much time?
15 seconds and you got to guess the game. This is your last one.
Is it
5 seconds.
Traffic Jams?
It is not Traffic Jams. In fact, it is requested every single time we do 20 questions. It is Good Dog, Bad Dog. Finally, at long last.
Ugh.
Good dog, bad dog. It is requested every single time we do 20 questions, and that's the suggestion we see every single time. People guess good dog, bad dog every single time, and that's the reason it was kind of easy mode. Terrible game. Still $25 on the PlayStation Store for pretty much the biggest piece of shit I've ever played.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I'll take that L.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to win on that piece of shit's name, anyways.
I wouldn't want to win on that anyway.
No, if you really think about it, we won, cats. We won.
You take a W no matter how you do it, man.
Yep.
All right, guys. Jeremy the NES Rookie.
It hurt.
I had to look it up. Good Dog, Bad Dog came out in December of last year. It just made the cut. I couldn't believe it was so recent.
Confuse the Game Cat. He says, that hurt, AJ. You could see it. It only hurt because I had to hear the goddamn name of that stupid fucking game again. That's the only reason. Anytime that game gets mentioned, a little part of me dies. So that's why it hurt. I didn't care about not getting it. It is like I just ate some sour food hack because I hate hearing the name of that game.
Deathly, the Subterranean Deathcat said no one actually played it, so we didn't know what questions to ask. That's really good point, man. I'm so glad that you guys didn't play it because I don't want you wasting $25 on this. There are way better things to spend your money on. Lots of hidden gems out there for PlayStation VR. Go find those instead. Holy shit, dude! It's time for the weekend. I'm so happy. It's time for the weekend, and I still got a bunch of work to do though this weekend. Hopefully, I'll get some videos out that I've been working on, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you, AJ, for being here. I can't do this without you, dude. Make sure, guys, again, if you want to check out those Dreams videos or anything else that AJ's been doing over on his channel, make sure you subscribe to PSVR Underground. Also, huge shout out to everybody that helps this channel out. I mean, Professor Lilith, All You Art's History was doing the... Did I get that right? No. Was that Shades of Grey Matter? Fuck, you know what, man? I fucking don't know who's running the book club. Whoever's running the book club, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you, Jamie Meow, and everybody else helps the channel out. All the mods over here and over on Discord. Make sure you join us over on Discord. It's free to join, man. All you need to do is do the phone number verification thing. But that is for your safety, I promise you. And that you can win Song in the Smoke this weekend. And I don't know, man. That's where all the coolest cats hang out. So thank you so much for everybody. Thank you everybody who watched the show tonight. Thank you everybody who participated in the chat, helped AJ out in 20 questions, donated during the show. You guys are awesome. Thanks to everybody who supports us on patreon.com/without parole games. Thank you to everybody who changed your name to Gamecat. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to thank everybody for the next 20 minutes. If you change your name to Gamecat, remember hashtag Gamecat in the comments of any of our videos, and we'll give you a shout out on next week's show. Of course, thank you to all of you who sat back and watched the show and didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. Alberto Mapam El Game Gato. It's time to cue the cat.
You're the gato, Brian, because I want to say happy Friday to everybody. Hope you all have a fun and safe and PSVR gaming goodness weekend. Woohoo! Bob Zarkov, the Underground Game Cat. Good night to you. Justin Cassidy, good to see you. Blue Jew, the Underground Game Cat. Thank you so much. Glad you enjoyed the show. Jazzy J, the Terror Mage Game Cat. Be excellent to each other, gatos. Nice. I like the way you roll, Jazzy J. Heck, the Game Cat. I knew it was lit up in here. Shades of Grey Matter. Time to play with Game Cats. See you as well, my friend. Twitcher, the single player Game Cat says, play more dreams, make stuff, and send it to me. Yes, agreed. Distracted Game Cat says, thumbs up to you as well. Brax Bro says, this is an awful trailer too. Everything is bad about that game. The fact that it's even mentioned is just awful.
To make matters worse, terrible game.
This is one of the
trailer.
This is one of the games where I'm like, okay, I'm okay if PSVR 2 is not backwards compatible because I will never have to fucking see that shit again. Flame Hat, the Game Cat says, fire, fire, fire. Steve IRE, Johnny Rye Pop the Stray Cat, Oot, he's Oot in a boot. Justin Cassidy, Deathly the Subterranean Death Cat, my dude. I love the adjacent names. Hashtag Game Cat it up, people. Genetic Blasphemy, the Reverse Engineered Game Cat. TGIF as well, friend. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hard to get with the little doggy. Good to see you, my friend. Pure Trek F, hello. Guys, Ian Stanbridge, Alberto Mapom, the Game Gato. Guy Cajones. Right. Jeremy, the NES Rookie, my Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, and Confused Game Cat. Jeremy, look, it's a Game Cat butthole.
Oh, did I forget to thank Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry? Thanks, Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry. You've got a chore on your hands tonight coming up with these timestamps because, whoa, there's like 20 minutes that we just got to tell people not to watch. Good weekend, everybody. We love you so much.